Hello and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Welcome to the Week 14 ONIT preview. Hope you're enjoying your holiday, however you may be spending it. This week, we'll take a look at all of our important ONIT rivalry matchups, look to some of our players out of the upcoming Gravity release that may be slabbed up with their performances on the weekend, and we'll finish it off with the checklist, letting you know what names and games to watch on Saturday. Before we dive on in, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of our future content here in the college football season. And also stick around to the end of the video to make sure that you can see how you can submit your hits from ONIT Gravity when it releases tomorrow. With that all said, how about we start with What's in the Box? What's in the box? Our Week 14 ONIT preview box features our locally sourced but nationally relevant headlines for all of our ONIT teams, including big rivalry matchups between Ohio State and Michigan, Texas A&M and Texas, and Florida State. We'll also take a look at some of these playoff deciding contests, see what players out of our new Gravity release could have big performances this weekend, and then jump on into the checklist. Let's begin with our ONIT versus ONIT matchups. Let's start with the biggest game of the day on Friday. Number 3, Texas A&M, undefeated at 11-0, 7-0 in the SEC Conference, going into Austin to play the number 17 Texas Longhorns, 8-3, 5-2 on the year in the SEC. This is a game that means everything. Texas A&M wins. They go to the SEC championship game. They are into the college football playoff without a doubt, regardless of the result in that contest. For Texas, a win here could potentially knock A&M out of the conference championship game. It could potentially secure Texas a spot in the college football playoff. And, of course, for both of these teams, it would be a big-time rivalry win. This one is going to be electric. Arch Manning coming off his best game of the season last week for the Longhorns in the win over Arkansas. Texas A&M's defense is not as susceptible through the air as that Razorbacks defense is. So we'll see if he can play well, if CJ Baxter and Quintavion Wiesner can get it going on the ground for Texas. Can Marcel Reed come out with another Heisman-worthy performance like he had in the comeback win over South Carolina, like he had in just a quarter and a half against Samford when he tossed 3 touchdowns in like 20 minutes? Those are the questions that we are going to be looking for. Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver on the outside. Going to be a great matchup against some of these Texas DBs. You got Anthony Hill Jr. in the middle for the Longhorns, one of the best players in the country at the linebacker position. This game is going to be incredible. 7:30 p.m. ABC, Friday night, Black Friday. You're going to want to be watching this one while you recover from your Thanksgiving feast. Iowa State on the road at Oklahoma State. Cyclones 7-4, 4-4 in the Big 12. Going into Stillwater to take on a 1-10, 0-8 Big 12 Oklahoma State Cowboys squad. For Oklahoma State, obviously this is the last chance to get a conference win this season. It's their last chance to get a win against an FBS opponent this year. The season for Oklahoma State went off the rails early and never has really recovered, unfortunately, for the Cowboys. They are in hunt of their first win this year against FBS opposition. Iowa State is not going to be an easy team to do that against. The Cyclones are bowl eligible after starting the year at 5-0. Had a bit of a backslide, but have turned things around recently. Rocco Beck played a great game last week for the Cyclones in their victory, and now they are going to look to take down Oklahoma State. Would be an 8-win season in the regular season for the Cyclones if they can do that. Iowa State, big win over Kansas last Saturday. While Oklahoma State, they've gotten closer in their last 2 contests, a 14-6 loss against Kansas State. They were up 14-0 on UCF going into halftime last week. Couldn't get it done, though. They gave up 17 unanswered. They've been steadily improving this season, have the Cowboys, at least recently. So hopefully this is the last game of the regular season where they can put everything all together, come out swinging, and they do want to get a win for their interim head coach, get 1 win for him. So we'll see if they can make that happen at home in Stillwater. This will be a noon kick on ESPNU on Saturday. Little SEC action here between Missouri and Arkansas as the Tigers go on the road to Fayetteville to play the Razorbacks. Arkansas is still looking for their first SEC win this year. The amount of close games that they have played in, you would think that one would have broke their way, but no, that has not been the case for Arkansas in a 2-9 season so far, while Missouri is playing here for pride. They are 7-4. They're definitely going bowling. They'd love to add an 8th win onto that resume. Unfortunately, the loss to Oklahoma last week has pretty much eliminated them from the college football playoff postseason potential, but they will be going bowling for sure. They would love to get this win in a rivalry contest. Obviously, you always want to beat your rivals, so to get that win, take the trophy home, and then you also have the opportunity to get an 8th win on the regular season. It would be very nice. They would finish 500 in the SEC if they can do that as well, would the Tigers. Bo Pribula returned for them last week against a difficult Oklahoma defense. He was held in check, threw 2 interceptions. Should have an easier day against the Razorbacks. While for Arkansas, Taylon Green left their last game with an injury. Not sure if we're going to see him back, but KJ Jackson filled in quite admirably. This is a tough team to run on in the form of Missouri, so Mike Washington Jr. might not find as much rushing room as he saw last week in the loss against Texas. But Arkansas has a very explosive offense, regardless of who is in at quarterback. So this could be a game where we see some fireworks on the scoreboard. Tune in 3:30 Saturday on the SEC Network to check this game out between our two ONIT squads. LSU going into Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma, number 8 in the country, 9-2, 5-2 in the SEC this season. LSU comes in 7-4, 3-4 in the SEC. Honestly, if you just looked at records in this game, you would think that LSU is, right there with Oklahoma. But if you were to ask an LSU fan how this season has gone, I don't think that they would tell you that they are on par with Oklahoma, obviously outside the rankings, with Oklahoma being number 8 in the country. But realistically, the Tigers, talent-wise, match up very well with Oklahoma. Garrett Nussmeier more than likely still out with his injury, as LSU just barely managed to win last week at home against Western Kentucky, 13-10. It came down to the wire at Tiger Stadium, but Michael Van Buren getting the Tigers over the line. Can he do that again this week against a John Mateer-led Sooners offense? We'll see if LSU can make that happen. Oklahoma has themselves, again, one of the best defenses in the country. Even though Mateer has struggled with his accuracy ever since getting injured during the middle of the season, he has been playing well enough to continually get Oklahoma these wins that they have needed, and the defense has stepped up tall. We saw that last week, 17-6 win over Missouri for the Sooners. Mateer got a ton of passing production on just one play, but for the rest of the game, able to move the ball enough to get Oklahoma 2 more scoring opportunities. That was the difference as the defense clamped down. A look at this Oklahoma defense, 11th in the FBS, giving up 280 yards per game. They only give up 81 yards on the ground. That's 3rd in the country. And then they only allow teams to score 14 points against them. That is 6th. The one place where they can be attacked is through the air. They give up 200 passing yards per game. That's 40th in the nation. Still a great mark, but that's where LSU and Van Buren are going to have to try and beat this Sooners defense if they want to pull off this upset. 3:30 kickoff, ABC on Saturday, a game to watch in the afternoon window. This should be a fun one. The Tallahassee-Gainesville rivalry reignited in Week 14. The Florida State Seminoles at 5-6 go into the Swamp needing a win against the 3-8 Florida Gators to secure a bowl, while Florida looks to ruin their rival's season. I mean, what more could you ask for when it comes down to a game like that? Florida State trying to make the postseason. Florida not going to the postseason this year, but a chance to spoil Florida State's opportunity to do that. The Gators will be playing for that opportunity. Absolutely. Should be an interesting contest. Florida State coming off a loss at North Carolina State. They were just, unfortunately, doomed by special teams play in that loss. Castellanos, solid game, 203 yards for a touchdown. Did throw 2 interceptions, though. Well, Florida is coming off a loss where they were battered by Tennessee at home as well. The Gators get to stay home for 2 straight weeks. Should be a fun one to watch between these two quarterbacks, Castellanos and Lagway. Jordan Baugh has ran the ball very well for Florida this year as well. And then you got Deuce Robinson, one of the leading receivers this year in college football. He's played very well, 1,021 yards on 53 catches and 6 touchdowns for Florida State. He is a nightmare to match up with, has shown that all year long against ACC competition. Now can he do the same against an SEC squad in the Florida Gators? We'll see how it plays out. It's a 4:30 kick from Gainesville Eastern Time on ESPN2 this coming Saturday. Our game of the week is what college football is all about. Number 1, Ohio State, 11-0, 8-0 in the Big Ten, going to Michigan. Number 15 in the country, 9-2 on the year, 7-1 in the Big Ten. This is a Big Ten title game deciding contest in Ann Arbor. It is what college football is made for. Rivalry games in the last week with everything on the line. If Michigan wins, they're probably going to the college football playoff. They would be one of the teams that would be in consideration to play in the Big Ten championship game. They would extend their streak over Ohio State as they continue to beat the Buckeyes if they could pull off a victory Saturday at home. While Ohio State comes in, the argument against the Buckeyes all season has been they have not gotten a quality win. They haven't played anybody, even though they beat Texas week 1 of the season. So I don't know how you could say that still. I digress. This game against Michigan will be that test. If they beat the Wolverines, you can stamp Ohio State. You can look to the win over Texas. You can look to the win on the road at Michigan in a rivalry game, in a must-win situation for their Big Ten championship game lock potential. And you can say Ohio State has played a good schedule this year. They have beaten all the teams that have been put in front of them, and especially depending on the result, if Ohio State comes out and blows the doors off like they have to most of their opponents this season, that argument will finally be put to bed, which I would love to see, because Ohio State has been one of the best teams in the country this season, especially when you look at that defense. 206 yards allowed per game, that's first in the country. 126 passing yards allowed per game, first in the country. 80 rushing yards per game, that's second in the country. And they're giving up just 7.6 points per game. That is also best in the nation. This defense has been dominant. Can Bryce Underwood and his teammates come in to this game against Ohio State at home in the Big House and upset the Buckeyes again? Or will Ohio State prove that they are the best team in the country and have an undefeated regular season? Only time will tell. Big noon kickoff on Fox Eastern Time on Saturday. This is the game that we are all waiting for. Here's a look at what the rest of our ONIT teams will go through on this rivalry week. Starting with number 10, Alabama. They're at Auburn. 7:30 nighttime kickoff under the lights in Auburn, Alabama. This will be a contest that is very interesting. Alabama in a must-win scenario to keep the SEC title game hopes alive and potentially keep their playoff hopes alive on the road at Auburn. Number 18, Tennessee will be at home against number 12, Vanderbilt. What an entertaining contest this should be on Saturday as Diego Pavia and the Commodores make the short trip down the road to Knoxville to take on Joey Aguilar and the Volunteers. Tennessee just drubbed at Florida in the Swamp. Could they get into the college football playoff with the victory over Vanderbilt? That is the question that Tennessee will be asking if they can win this one on Saturday. USC comes in number 19 in the country. They've got a home game against UCLA, a battle between the two Los Angeles schools there. This one will be taking place in the LA Coliseum as the Trojans look to improve their standing in the Big Ten. Arizona State will take on Arizona at home in Tempe. The Big 12 Conference Championship game hopes are alive and well for the Sun Devils if they can win this contest against their rivals from Tucson. This is a 9 p.m. Friday night Eastern Time kickoff, so make sure you're looking out for that one, as Arizona State could go to the Big 12 Championship game with a win and some results in front of them. Boise State will also play on Friday. They're on the road in Logan against Utah State. It's a 4 o'clock Eastern time kickoff for the Broncos. They're another team that needs a win and some help to get into the Mountain West Conference title game, but that possibility is still on the table for the Broncos if they could take down the Aggies. Kansas will play on Friday as well. They get number 14 Utah at home, and the Jayhawks might try to copy their in-state rivals' plan to beat the Utes. Kansas State just ran all over the Utes last weekend to the tune of 293 yards just from Joe Jackson alone. If Kansas and Jalen Daniels can figure out how to get the ground attack going, they might be able to pull off the upset, which would potentially help out Arizona State. Kansas State will play at noon on Saturday. They have themselves a matchup with the Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado has been reeling this year. Kansas State coming off that game against Utah, a very disappointing loss as it looked like they were going to knock the Utes out of the playoff conversation. But Kansas State will try to bounce back, get a victory over Colorado here in Week 14. Nebraska will play Iowa on Friday. That's a noon kickoff as well. For the Cornhuskers, again, the season has kind of derailed ever since the injury to Dylan Raiola, but they're still playing for a bowl game opportunity. They are going to a bowl for sure this year. They would like to get another win and prove to the committee that they deserve to be in an even better bowl. So we'll see how they come out against an Iowa team that has been ranked in the college football playoff rankings multiple times this year. Would be a big win at home in Lincoln for Nebraska. Penn State will go to New Jersey and play Rutgers. The Nittany Lions need a win to become bowl eligible this season. They've picked up back-to-back wins over Michigan State and over Nebraska. Can they go on the road and beat Rutgers and claim bowl eligibility, which would be an amazing feat for this Nittany Lions team that struggled in the Big Ten to start off the season, going 0-6. If they can win 3 straight, they will be going bowling and right back into the postseason. South Carolina and Clemson will do battle in the Palmetto Bowl. South Carolina hosting their in-state rivals from Clemson. This game will be taking place in Columbia, South Carolina. And for the Gamecocks, looking to spoil Clemson's season, although Clemson has certainly done that on their own this year. But South Carolina, with a victory in the rivalry game, would love to have that to polish off their game and potentially polish off Lenoris Sellers' career if he does decide to make the leap to the NFL. Washington is in a huge upset spot at home in Seattle as the number 5 Oregon Ducks come to town. Can the Huskies pull off the upset at home, unlike what USC was able to do a week ago? If Washington can, behind their trio of Damon Williams Jr., Jonah Coleman, and Denzel Boston on the offensive side, they could send shockwaves throughout the college football playoff rankings going into conference championship week. West Virginia has the opportunity to do the exact same thing as they get a Texas Tech Red Raiders squad that is ranked in the top 10 in the country. Can the Mountaineers at home pull off an incredible upset and send the Red Raiders spiraling out of the top 10 in the playoffs? We'll see. This is also a noon kick on Saturday. Let's move to Slab Watch, where we take a look at some Gravity players that might be making the grade this upcoming Sunday. It's time for Slab Watch here in Week 14. This is yet again a special Gravity edition of Slab Watch, where we're going to highlight some players who could have big weekends coming up, and you can find these cards in the upcoming Gravity release when it releases tomorrow. If you pull any of these guys or any big hits out of Gravity, we'd love for you to share them with us. Use the hashtag ONITGravity on social media, and we will repost your best hits. But let's begin with the quarterback from Texas A&M. Marcel Reed could be on Slab Watch this week if he has a big game against his rival Texas. This year, he's thrown for 2,752 yards, 25 touchdowns, compared to just 8 interceptions, while posting a quarterback rating of 79.2. In games against AP top 25 opponents, Reed has thrown for 783 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's also got it done on the ground this season. When you look at him scoring 3 touchdowns against SEC opponents in 2 of his last 4 games. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and 108 yards against LSU 255 yards and a score on the ground against Arkansas. Reed on Friday night might find himself slabbed up with another big performance and secure his Heisman moment. Moving on to our next quarterback. For the Michigan Wolverines, Bryce Underwood could be finding himself on a slab on Sunday here in his beautiful Gold Galaxy signature 1 of 1. He is going into the biggest game of his young career against Ohio State here in Week 14. This season, against top 25 opposition, Underwood has only thrown for 142 yards and no touchdowns. But could he find a way to break loose in this game? He's steadily improved each and every week that he has been the starter for Michigan. Is this the week where it all comes together for Underwood in a big upset for Michigan? Only time will tell for the quarterback who's thrown for 2,166 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 5 INTs this season. Next up, our third quarterback on the list. You know we love NIL for all here on it, but it's got to be quarterback heavy going into this important weekend in college football. Joey Aguilar on the base gold 1 of 1. He gets a matchup against Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Both of these teams ranked inside the top 20, pushing for one of the final spots in the college football playoff. If Tennessee can pull off this win, they might just secure their position in the college football playoff, and it's going to be on the arm of Aguilar, who's posted 147.3 passer rating when he plays top 25 opponents this year. Also thrown for 1,032 yards and 8 touchdowns on the season. He slung the rock for 3,145 yards, 23 TDs, 10 interceptions. You guys know I love Joey Aguilar. I think he has the opportunity to play on Sundays, and this could be a game where he gets Tennessee into the college football playoff. And lastly, this week from the Iron Bowl, we're taking a look at Ryan Williams. The sophomore wide receiver hasn't had the season that he was maybe expecting coming off a dominating freshman year, but this is the opportunity for Williams to show why he is one of the best wide receivers in the country, right up there with names like Jeremiah Smith and Mekhi Lemon. The Mobile, Alabama native so far this year has 40 catches, 598 yards, 4 touchdowns. In SEC play, he's averaging 13 yards per catch, and he has 378 of those 598 yards against conference foes, along with 2 receiving touchdowns. He gets an Auburn defense that can find themselves getting beat by the pass. If Williams can get out there and have a good connection with his quarterback, Ty Simpson, he may be ending up slabbed on Sunday. That was our Gravity edition of Slab Watch. Make sure that you submit your big hits to us using the hashtag ONIT Gravity if you pull any of these guys during release week. And let's take a look finally at the checklist for Saturday. This is the checklist where we tell you about the names and games that you should be watching coming up this Saturday. Start your day off with the noon kickoff between Ohio State and Michigan. Should be a fantastic contest. Then in the afternoon, watch Vanderbilt head to Tennessee before finishing off your night with Alabama at Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Jeremiah Smith, Jalen Daniels, Miles Graham, Jonah Coleman, and Xavier Brown are all the names that you should be checking out going into this weekend. Jonah Coleman with an opportunity against Oregon, while Jeremiah Smith is coming back from injury for Ohio State to play in this game against Michigan. Let's see how he returns to the field and if he can make a couple of splash plays. That's all the time we have on the Week 14 preview. Appreciate everybody watching the video today. Hope you've enjoyed your Thanksgiving, or if you're watching this after, hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving day. Have fun ripping Gravity when it comes out on Friday, November 28th. And once again, you can share your best polls with us. You can either submit them to the link down below or in the description, or use the hashtag ONITGravity to share your polls with us on social media so we, in turn, can share them with the community. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy all of the fantastic rivalry week games that are coming and have fun with Gravity. Hope you have a good one, folks. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on Sunday for the Week 14 recap video.